excellent counsel during his time as president as well. The first item is information, the report of the ballots, and the introduction of the new officers in the board. President-elect is Dan Smith. First Vice President, Stephen Schweitzberg. Second Vice President, Dan Herron. I'll remain in my term as Secretary, and Treasurer will be Gerald Freed. New three-year terms that have been new members to the board: Fred Brody, Raul Rosenthal, and Dan Scott. And reappointments to the board will be Joe Beiske, Jeff Marks, Brant Oschleger, and David Ratner. So that is the information, and we'll give them a quick round of applause. There is Brent Matthews here? You wish to present the bylaws change? Okay. There is a process change for bylaws, and that process is that the bylaws will be presented here, and that will be followed by an email vote. So the electronic vote will be held shortly. The bylaws change will be presented by Brent Matthews, head of the Bylaws Committee.
Thanks, Scott. A request came through the Research Committee to change the name of the Research Committee from the SAGES to the SAGES Research and Career Development Committee. The impetus behind this was the committee felt it was important through the Research Committee to encourage young surgeons to seek research funding, to improve grant writing skills of the SAGES membership, help young surgeon members to establish themselves in successful academic career, and provide a mentoring network for surgeons in practice. So an overall change in the philosophy and really the everyday working of the committee. This request came to the Bylaws Committee and it went to the board. The board has approved this recommendation for the SAGES Research Committee to be the SAGES Research and Career Development Committee. And of course, this will go out to general membership vote within 60 days of this meeting. This item's up for discussion. If there's no discussion on it, then we can move forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Freed. We're going to briefly go through the committee reports. For those committee chairs, you'll have a minute or so to discuss important topics. Our first report will be from Gerald Freed on a report on finance and assets, followed by Fred Brody on deck.
Thank you, Scott. I'm pleased to say that the financial situation of our organization is in good hands and good shape. The most important thing is that the last meeting in Las Vegas was extremely successful, and it generated revenue that really supported many of the activities over the year with a net income of in excess of $500,000. Over the year, we were well in the positive side of the ledger and generated a profit over the year of about $400,000. We were able to put some of that money back into additional projects support to allow our organization to continue to expand, and some of the money went into the investment account to protect us against some years that might not be quite as successful. The income statement and expenses are summarized in the slide that's shown here. The numbers are quite small, hard for me to read, but I can tell you that the bottom line is a positive one. Early indications are that this meeting again was successful, but not at the extent of the Las Vegas meeting, I don't believe. Nonetheless, we should generate some profit that will again allow us to continue to grow the organization in the directions that we want to go. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Freed. Dr. Brody will present the membership, followed by Dr. Burkett in publications.
I just have a quick report. This last 6-month cycle, there were 293 new members to the society, bringing the total for the society to 6,004 members. Just a quick breakdown: active members, approximately 3,500; candidate members, approximately 1,400; international members, just slightly over 500. Overall, this represents continued growth for the society. The last 4 years, we've seen a 4.5% growth, 7.9%, 10.7%, and in this last year was an 11% growth. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Dr. Burkett for publications. So just to highlight that, Dr. Brody, this year marks the milestone of 6,000 members in SAGES, correct?
Publications Committee met. It had no action items. The manuals, the 2 manuals that are in print are doing well and continue to be purchased. There are 2 manuals in preparation. The decisions manual was supposed to have been out for this meeting but was delayed by the publishers for logistical reasons, but it will be out shortly. And the bariatric journal manual should be out in June. I say should be, that's what they say. But they will certainly both be out by the ACS. There are no other manuals in preparation at the moment. We're going to have a slight hiatus because there's no good topic that's been thought up. The journal's doing well, but I'll leave that to the editorial committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Richardson from Guidelines.
Thank you very much. Since last year, we have created and published 3 new guidelines: the Granting for Privileges in GI Endoscopy, Guidelines for the Diagnosis, Treatment, and Use of Laparoscopic Surgery During Pregnancy, Guidelines for Diagnostic Laparoscopy, and we've completed the guidelines for the clinical application of laparoscopic bariatric surgery. We have co-endorsed a number of guidelines with MIRA, the Consensus on Robotic Surgery, with ASGE, the role of endoscopy in patients undergoing bariatric surgery, and guidelines on antibiotic prophylaxis for GI endoscopy. We have asked the ASMBS to co-endorse the laparoscopic bariatric surgery guideline, and we're waiting to hear on that. We currently have 9 guidelines in process. 6 of them are older ones and 3 are newer ones, and we are trying to make sure to have guidelines ready when new CPT codes come out for procedures. We have retired 1 guideline on collaboration with spine surgery, and we are glad that we have some increased visibility on the new website for our guidelines. You can actually click on just one specific spot on the new website and get any guideline you would like. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ted Truss. Thank you, Dr. Richardson. Ted Truss from Flexible Endoscopy.
Thanks, Scott. The Flexible Endoscopy Committee is continuing to support fellowship training programs. We're going to scale back down from 3 this year to 2 every year. They've been very well received and fill up pretty much every course. In the same line, we're also going to extend our regional courses. We have a schedule now planned out for 3-year cycles, and fitting with the Go Global initiative, we're actually going to expand to Canada, Central and South America, with options to spread globally. Other action items that our committee's working on: we've set up a task force to work with APDS to help stimulate the numbers of endoscopy cases that the residency programs can generate for their trainees. And we're also working with the Continuing Ed Committee with a module for the Web LC. That concludes it.
Thank you, Dr. Truss. Dr. Ratner is already up here. Oh, there it is. Will discuss the endoluminal task force and report on NOSCAR.
The endoluminal task force met, and there were 3 major business items. First was drafting of a position statement regarding endoluminal and transluminal therapies, and that is still under production and hopefully will be ready by the college. Second was the 3rd annual notes meeting, which will be held in San Francisco July 10th to 12th. Your registration information is at www.noscar.org. In addition, there's $750,000 available for research grants. Grants must be submitted by May 1st. They'll be reviewed at the time of the notes meeting, and announcements of the recipient winners should come out in early August. Finally, one motion made and approved by the board was to hold a conference of the interested parties regarding coding and reimbursement for endoluminal and transluminal procedures, and the interested parties will be convened at the conclusion of the notes meeting in San Francisco on Sunday afternoon. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Dan Jones. Thank you, Dr. Ratner. Educational resources.
Thank you for presenting educational resources. The goal of our committee this year will be 100% committee participation and making sure that we tap all of the talent within SAGES for educational products. With this meeting, we kicked off Case of the Month. It's easy, fun, and I'd encourage everyone to submit. We are redesigning all of our brochures to compete with commercial products. They'll be in color. We're replacing this year the top 14 with the top 21. Our new pearls will be coming out for chole, hernia, band, sleeve, and common bile duct exploration. We'll be adding the video library up to 2008 onto the web, and we'll be presenting at our next meeting a strategic plan for how we might present all of our educational products in a different way. That concludes my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. Dr. Anders, from Resident Education.
Thank you. We continue to offer all the resident education courses. We're up to 8 a year at our, with our sponsors' help. We're training over 300 residents to get exposure to advanced laparoscopy. And again, we always try to sell SAGES and try to get them to all become members of SAGES for the rest of their career. We continue to collaborate with education resources to try to use many of our educational products at our courses. And we have been successfully, have done 2 FLS courses through resident education and FLS, and offering it at our industry-sponsored sites to help our residents get exposure to the FLS testing. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Anders. Dr. Brunt for Continuing Education. Like to hustle. Okay.
We have revised our mission statement to better reflect expectations for the ACCME, and that new mission statement was approved by the board this week. In addition, we'll continue to be expanding the documentation process and for planning for all of our CME activities that are also expected of the new ACCME guidelines. In addition, the CME committee continues to generate a variety of high-quality educational materials from postgraduate courses and audio casts from our annual meeting, as well as SAGES Grand Rounds. And we're evolving with the new technology modalities for delivery to better meet the needs of our membership. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you. For Dr. Soper, Dr. Fried will report on FLS.
Well, I'm really pleased to be able to present on behalf of NAT in the year when FLS has really tipped the balance. The good news is, after many years of support from the organization, the FLS is starting to become a profitable project and is generating positive revenue for us. It is also really taking off in many different directions. The Royal Australasian College has now mandated FLS training and certification prior to certification by their Royal College. With Dan Jones' impetus, recently the Harvard group, through their CRICO insurance program, has put on a program to try to certify all surgeons practicing minimally invasive surgery at the Harvard hospitals, with an incentive from CRICO to reimburse them $500 towards their malpractice premiums. And I think this has been a very, very seminal event. There are other initiatives of the FLS program that we're very proud of that are in line with our President's mandate to go global. And there has been a really outstanding project through the work of Alan O'Kranick, doing telementoring to a group of surgeons in Botswana using FLS and showing the impact of this project on their performance. And I think it's really exciting. Other projects in Guyana and Ghana are also evidence of taking FLS as an educational program around the world. We are going to have a presentation next week at the APDS meeting on the FLS program and how to implement it to try to get program directors up to speed on this project. Probably the most important event of the year was the outstanding grant that we just received from Covidian, $1.8 million, and this will enable FLS to be given free of charge to every graduating resident in general surgery at every training program in Canada and the United States, as well as fellowship graduates in minimally invasive surgery and colorectal surgery. As well, they will supply a FLS training box to each of these programs. And certainly this will be an outstanding opportunity for FLS to get out there and be the standard of education. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fried. Dr. Duncan, you're on deck, bro. For standing in for Jeff Marks, I assume? Or vice versa?
The report is for the Fundamentals of Endoscopic Surgery project, which is modeled after FLS. It's the flexible endoscopy equivalent. Just really a progress report. The beta testing is beginning for the the didactic test, which has been written. We're developing the hands-on skills test in partnership with Symbionics, so it will be on a virtual reality platform. SAGES, which is the clinical assessment tool, the global assessment of gastrointestinal endoscopic skills, which is an important part of the FES project, has had some preliminary validation work and is now going to a multi-institutional validation study. We plan by the American College of Surgeons meeting in 2008 to have a prototype of the hands-on simulation for at least the committee to evaluate, and the whole project should be rolled out by April 2010 at the SAGES meeting. That concludes the report.
Thank you. Dr. Pryor will present for the Research Committee.
Thank you. The Research Committee this year funded 8 research grants. This was a great year for them. We increased the dollar amount from $20,000 to $30,000 per grant, and they were reflected in the high-quality grants we received. With our increased mission statement to also encompass career development, we had 2 new things that we did with that this year. One, we had a Career Development Award grant that was given for $60,000 for a dedicated time commitment and a dedicated educational experience. We also are implementing a career development seminar that will be in August, and with the board's support, we're going to extend both of those career award and the career seminar next year as well. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Pryor. Dr. Ramshaw will present for public information. And
thanks. The primary task of the Public Information Committee has been the redesign of the website, which is now completed. It's about 90% functional. Within 2 weeks, it'll be 100% functional. Between now and ACS, the committee is then going to increase the content and improve the content, and that'll include figuring ways to work with all of the other committees who utilize the web for their missions. And this concludes my report.
thank you, Dr. Ramshaw. Steve Schweitzberg, is John Morton here? The Outcomes Committee has been active in transitioning the role of their committee and continues to work in that realm. Dr. Schweitzberg will present from the Program Committee.
As you can tell from being here, the SAGES program is alive and well. The numbers from 2007, where more than 2,400 people attended, are equally impressive this year with more than 2,000 surgeons attending, indicating really good long-term growth over the last 5 years, and the trend is up. The Program Committee has made some changes in the way that we're going to do abstracts. We've pushed back the abstract deadline to the first week of October to give incoming fellows and residents a little bit more time to get their materials together. We are no longer going to print syllabi for the postgraduate courses, but we're going to work hard to make them online, on the web, and available electronically here at the meeting. This year's project is to overhaul the review process because it needs a makeover in terms of the relevance of the kinds of questions that we ask to select items for the program. The committee works hard with the Conflict of Interest Task Force to create the highest quality of standards and the lowest issues and perceived bias that we can do at our meeting. The final thing is that this meeting has really gone global with more than 15 countries participating in our live webcasts and more than 500 surgeons viewing these webcasts from different parts around the world yesterday.
Thank you. Dr. Schweitzberg will present the Development Foundation, Development Committee as well.
All right.
Change your hat.
Development is also alive and well, and we'd like to acknowledge the hard work of Shelley Ginsberg, who's worked hard to fill the shoes of Colleen Elkins, who worked very hard for many years for this society. Many people know that the SAGES development effort is a separate effort from the SAGES Foundation, which we also encourage everybody to support. Last year, there were 116 exhibitors at a meeting that we shared with AHPBA. This year, there were 118 exhibitors that were here just because of SAGES itself, representing very strong growth. Development dollars are up, sponsorship is up, levels, contributions are up, and we were pleased at the strong efforts from everybody on the Development Committee to get out and continue the SAGES development effort.
Thank you, Dr. Schweitzberg. Dr. Lerner? Dr. Lerner will present for a legislative review.
Your legislative committee this year was active in the areas of surgical advocacy and coding. We journeyed to Washington along with other groups from the American College of Surgeons. We became a sponsoring society of the joint advocacy session of the American College of Surgeons this year for the first time. We all had a wonderful experience, and I think we're able to impact on some of our legislators. And I think this is an ongoing process. This next year we will be there again in perhaps a little bit greater force, and we're going to bring along some of our instrumentation to demonstrate to our members of Congress and the Senate exactly what it is that we do. We fought for to stop the 10.6% cut, which is expected in July for Medicare. We think that we are going to be successful in that effort. Our question now is for how long is that cut going to be modified? We're hoping for 18 months. It'll end up somewhere between 6 months and 18 months for sure. The longer the better, because if we get that thing coming back to Congress before 18 months, we're going to be in a lame duck situation, and it probably will not bode well for us. We have brought several codes forward this year, including ventral hernia codes and hilar myotomy codes. There were 8 codes in all that were pressed forward and are now part of our coding manual. The next group of codes that we're going to be setting up are paraesophageal hernias. Our involvement with SQA through Rocco Orlando has been very strong. 6 new quality measures are being considered between us and the college, and they should be coming in pretty soon. Currently, to the best of my knowledge, there's still only 3 codes that are the 3 quality measures that are used consistently. Those are DVT, antibiotic administration, and time and choice of antibiotics. These programs are still available to our surgeons, and if you want to be involved with them, if you'll just contact the office, I'm sure we'll be able to set you up with the people who are running the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Lerner. Mike Marone from Technology. Is there a technology representative here? Dr. Talamini, then will you come up and discuss the liaison groups? Or is there a report from the liaison groups? Okay. Dr. Talamini, still come up. So that concludes our committee reports. If you have further questions or wish to participate and you're not, please contact those chairs or the office. So as a conclusion of my part of the meeting, I'd like to introduce Steve Eubanks, our outgoing president, and I'd like to thank him for his service.
My final act as your president is to have the honor of introducing our incoming president, a man who is of great honor, great integrity. The current chairman at University of California, San Diego, Mark Talamini, will be serving for the coming year as our president. Last night I was reminded by Greg Mancini about the current HBO special about John Adams, where Washington was going out and Adams coming in, and he was able to look at him and say, "Sir, I am fairly out, you're fairly in. We shall see which of us shall be the happiest." So it is a great year. It's a great honor to serve, but I'm very happy to be passing things off to you. Mark, have a great year. We pledge our support.
Well, thanks very much, Steve, and thanks for your service over many years in this terrific last year. We're over time, and we've got a great meeting still to go to, so obviously this will be very brief, and mostly I just want to thank the society and particularly the people here, or the worker bees, for the deep honor of serving you in this way, and thank you in advance for your work this coming year. This is just an unbelievable organization. Just think about it. Lord Era Darcy, who I guess is the Minister of Health of Great Britain, is a dedicated SAGES member. I mean, just think about that. Nobody could have predicted that 10 years ago. So it really is an honor, and I look forward very much to working with you this year. If you have ideas, concepts, thoughts about where the organization should go, please bring them forward. Sally's always the best conduit because my email box tops out usually at 250 or 300 every day, but I will be faithful to make sure to listen and work with you. So I'm supposed to remind you there's free lunch in the exhibit hall if you are not going to the Go Global lunch, and thank you for your attention. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon.